Even when there are questions or inquiries or thinking and knowledge, you know that within awareness remains present. And so, even though there is a feeling that there is a back and forth, you know that this back and forth takes place in awareness as yourself. Mhm.
I'm really wanting to explore what is true for me, and there's a lot of concepts about what is true, but I find that it's my experience, what's happening for me in my experience feels more true than the ideas and the concepts about what is true. Can you speak a little bit about that, about experience? Like what really is truth rather than ideas or concepts?
For instance, if we take this example of us being here, what we are actually sharing is consciousness as awareness. And everything that seems to appear as persons, as a play of persons with their own different colors, is what appears over the consciousness that we are experiencing as reality. It is the same with what it is that we may be experiencing on the level of the mind, the feelings, the body, or as the world. Because consciousness is at the basis of it all, is the center point around which all of these revolve around. That our experience is actually the experience of consciousness.
So it's having an experience, and because we're conscious of it, we're aware of it, that's what's real. The awareness of our experience.
I'll say that which is aware of your experience.
Yeah.
Because that which is aware of the experience is prior to whatever takes place on the surface of your experience.
So right now, I'm aware of my body sitting here, but there's also, I'm aware of the whole of what's going on around me, contact with everything, the oneness of it all. So that's my awareness of my experience. Is that?
Yeah. And something is aware of that also.
Right, yes.
And something is aware that it is aware of being aware of all that. So this is what lies on the level of experiencing in truth. Everything appearing in it comes and goes, or may give you the impression that what appears in it is the actual experience, when it is just an appearance within the very experience of consciousness that we are experiencing as a fact. and out of which we are experiencing union.
So when I'm speaking of my experience, or when I'm aware of it and I give words to it, or it could be with listening to you and hearing, taking in my experience of you, sharing what you're saying, what's bringing, that feels to me like intimacy of, and it's like I'm expressing the awareness is expressing itself. Is that accurate?
Or you could say expressions
Right.
are taking place in consciousness.
Right.
And somehow, because we are paying attention in the sense that we're looking at ourselves, we are allowing their consciousness to step forward, to reveal itself as the actuality of what it is that is taking place within the play of forms and of personalities and so on. So we are experiencing consciousness at all times, all the time, no matter what.
Can't be taken away from us.
No.
No matter what, no matter where we are or what's going on.
Because everything else does not exist other than as appearances, which relatively may last for a short or longer time. Doesn't matter. Sooner or later, everything that rises also subsides. Consciousness alone remains. And you could even say that as the will, as much as there may be a will to go against the fact of consciousness, the stronger the will to do that, the more certain this will also be broken down. So let's say, for instance, if you look at what may be going on in the world as this will to control, the more it'll strive to control, the more it'll invite its own demise. And in fact, in relation to that, what is the individual going through? The individual is actually forced to look into himself, to deal with his own uncertainty, its fear, insecurity, and to see, to realize how much it is given its faith into the exterior, as if your sense of peace depends on the external world. And if you come to see that such may have been taking place, then you know why an external world has been given so much power. Over you. So therefore, actually what it is happening now in the world is that it is a call to awaken to our own sense of responsibility towards our own self. we are put in quarantine exactly for that purpose of realizing that we are the one responsible for ourselves in terms of realizing who we are.
Does that include being responsible to others?
It's the same. Because being responsible for ourselves really means acknowledging who we are in truth. As to realize that we are consciousness, that consciousness alone is the reality of our experience. And as consciousness, the personality is a mere appearance, and it is actually given life from consciousness. Therefore, the consciousness that is within giving us life is also the same consciousness giving life to everyone else. Therefore, we are already one. So the more people will come to realize the truth of consciousness within, the more the world will come to reflect that and function out of a place of unity, of truth. So now it is kind of a place where we've come to as a collective, where this has to become the foreground of our experience, to know and to abide as the consciousness within. And it will take place, inevitably. This is just a purging time. The madness, the confusion, the insecurity, the desire to control within as taking place outwardly in the world, now in your face, in order to resolve it within yourself, as if to be forced to acknowledge that it comes from yourself and to master it. Master in the sense that you realize that you are consciousness first and foremost, out of which everything that you are not dissipates, and that your life becomes a reflection of that, a reflection of the wholeness that you finally realized and integrated and embodied as the only reality of your life, as the life of others. And yet, even if all that seems so complicated, consciousness remains the very foundation of our experience, of whatever we may be experiencing outside that very experience of consciousness. And that you can always confirm for yourself. All the things going on in your mind, on the level of your feeling, sensation, or the level of the world, you can always see that these are all taking place because of where your attention goes. As if to say that all there is in truth in this moment is that which is aware and remains aware of being aware. So the world must also be that. It's like a wave that takes place and then fall apart, entering a phase of chaos. revert back to the ocean, as if nothing ever has ever been any different. So all to say that at the end, when you somewhat become one with consciousness, all there arises is that you realize that you've never been anything other but consciousness. That everything you've taken yourself to be never even took place, other than within your own mind. It's the notion of waking up. You've always been there. There has only ever been consciousness from the start.
Can you speak about the yes, progress possible?
Well, it depends what you refer to as progress. Because symbolically speaking, it does make sense. Makes sense in terms of how much you become able to return to yourself as a practice. At some point, it becomes obvious that you are consciousness because you keep coming back to it. At some point, the whole tendencies to identify with mind lessens because you come to understand the game. Therefore, in that sense, there is a progress in your so-called practice. But if you look at progress as a means to become more of the consciousness that you are, then necessarily this is not the case. For you don't become more than what you already are. Since you are already consciousness, you do not become more consciousness. So in that sense, progress does not exist.
Yeah, I feel like I've been, as a seeker, stuck wanting more progress. And this wanting perpetuates the illusion of the subject and an object of being a goal in the future. I see as a seeker and as friends and who are also seekers, this is a common theme, that we're all searching for progress on the path of enlightenment. And there's a difference between this experience now and the experience of enlightenment. And there's somehow a difference. And there needs to be progress in order to experience this. But these are just thoughts.
There seems to be a process following which it becomes more natural to stand as yourself, as you are, independently from mind. But as an indirect product of reminding yourself to be present, consciousness is allowed to more easily stand forward in your experience, as if the clouds that blocks the sun becomes less and less and less of themselves. As an indirect process, meaning that you yourself cannot look for consciousness. As a cloud, you cannot look for the sun. You will always never see the sun. But as you see yourself being caught in a cloud, by your own will or your own misunderstanding or ignorance, as you see yourself as you are, there comes reveal that you are that which you are looking for. As a result, indirectly. So the search is necessary up to the level where it becomes obvious that you are what it is you are looking for. And that what it is that you truly are comes to take over naturally. In other words, if in your experience you're not experiencing consciousness, and therefore you are seeking consciousness, to deny that you are not experiencing consciousness is false. In other words, your experience of consciousness must be consistent with where you stand. If you're not experiencing consciousness, to say that seeking consciousness means nothing is not going to help you. If you are seeking, if consciousness is not your experience, factually, daily, then seeking is necessary. Seeking in the sense that you ask yourself who you are, what it is that is taking place at the moment, as to whether you're in your mind or aware of being in a mind. Therefore, realizing that you are awareness first and foremost, thereby abiding as that which you are looking for. So seeking or practicing must take place as long as it is not your experience that you are consciousness. So if you are not consciousness, and you can see that for yourself as you're caught in your mind or identify with this mind-body apparatus, then you question that. You ask yourself whether you are caught in mind or not, and you will see right away, right? That is practice. And with practice, then consciousness comes to take more and more the foreground of your experience. It becomes easier for you to see the mind coming, thereby keeping a space from being caught in the identification with the mind. Hence, coming to embody the state of realization, the so-called state, for it's not a state. So in that regard, what you may call awakening versus enlightenment, or realization versus enlightenment, it's on that level. There comes a time where you see the mind coming, as opposed to being caught in the mind, being led by the mind. So at first it is as if you come to see more and more that you're caught in the mind. Therefore, having the ability to also let go of the mind more and more. And at some point you see it coming, thereby being able to let it pass by naturally, spontaneously. So your realizations become enlightenment in the sense that you come to embody consciousness. Consciousness has come to take over your experience, or is revealed now as the very foundation of your experience at all times. But then again, here, don't see that as something solid in the sense that here you are forever aware. It has nothing to do with you. You come to see the illusion of separation as a cloud. It comes and goes. And the impersonal as the consciousness that you truly are. Witness everything passing and going. All the while not being denial of everything taking place in itself as appearances, as phenomena, as the appearance of this personality. It accepts it, see it as it is in relation to itself. Therefore, far from being in denial of it, it actually gives it the very reality that this personality is about. Therefore, becoming more of yourself than anything else. So to see enlightenment as the negation of this personality is a wrong understanding. It's the opposite. You become truly yourself on all levels when connected to that which gives you the life from the start. When you're caught in your mind and assuming that you are this personality, it really feels like you are solely this personality. When the truth is that it is when you are aware of your identification with the mind body that it gives you freedom from it, therefore releasing your very sense of self from what it is that you are not. A mere mind activity. You are more than mind activity. You are consciousness. You are that which is aware that you are beyond the mind, therefore the master of your mind, therefore master of yourself. And not as something you claim for yourself. A mastery that takes place out of your union with consciousness. As consciousness itself being the master of yourself. Itself being yourself.
Feels like there's a fading away of ownership of thoughts, ownership of sensations, just a gradual fading of that clinging to any experience. It's almost like the opposite of progress.
And yet only when you are truly acknowledging consciousness as the truth of yourself that you come to think properly, act properly, sense properly, move properly, and perceive properly everything around you and relate properly with everything around you.
I'm unclear as to what you mean by properly.
At one with everything. When everything is seen as taking place in the consciousness that you are, that everything is made out of, then necessarily there is proper action, there is proper relating. proper doing at the exact right moment. Something you cannot do on your own as a person that believes to be separated from anything else or everyone else. And contrary. Hence the confusion, the struggle, the duality humans are experiencing with each other. So consciousness simply look at you as you are. So in order to become one with consciousness, you look at yourself as you are. And since consciousness is everything, then consciousness takes care of it all. In the right time, right moment, you'll be doing the right thing, think the right thing, take the right decision. Now, if you question that, then see that you are questioning it. Then, of course, you fall back into the mind, to the notion that you are separated from consciousness, hence, depending on the result of your questioning. But if you see that you are questioning, doubting, you look at that alone. That's all that is required, to see everything as it is. You see everything as it is, you let go of everything unnecessary. And you can feel it, experience it within. There's a peace inherent to that, to seeing everything as it is. So you take care of that first.
But it would seem that all of these different issues, they seem to kind of be separate. But would you say that it's really the belief that you are this personality experiencing these things? Because it feels like you are this personality. It felt like I was this personality who had anxiety. But what was liberating was not the liberation from the anxiety, but it was seeing that I was not the personality having the anxiety, or the seeker who has been for 15 years was seeking some sort of awakening. The pain seems to come from the belief because it feels like you're this personality. And it's so easy to pass over this awareness because it doesn't feel like the personal me. And so I don't know, but I must have passed over it 1,000 times as just this nothing, just a state or whatever. But when something happened to where I left my head and I entered into everything, and then then that's when I realized for briefly that it's not the feeling of this me that's finding something. It was the source of so much, it seemed like, pain. And I see it happening to so many people that I'm close to. And I just was curious to your thoughts on that.
When the pain is there, feeling by this person that we come to identify, of course it's real. But when you come to realize that you are that which is aware of it, and that what is permanent in your experience is the actual awareness of it itself, not in pain, then it is as if even though you may continue to experience a pain on the level of this person, there is a place that is not in pain. Therefore, there is freedom from pain. And the pain in question takes place only in relation with how much you focus and take yourself to be this person. If you're honest with yourself, you can see that. Because when you go to sleep and you experience dreamless sleep, this pain is no longer there. So therefore, the body must report to something in order to feel anything on the level of the body. Similarly, the person itself must report to something else in order to stand as this person. So awareness must be that which is the truth in our experience. So as much as you connect with the truth, as much as the pain that may have been or may be experienced on the level of this person is also diminishing. So when you experience a pain on this level of this person, it's not to deny it, but it's to see for what it is and to see whether you are identifying with this person or whether you acknowledge awareness and anchor yourself in awareness. That necessarily something in you is revealed as being also in peace. So it is as if you can play your way like this. And what is pain really? If not a call to return home? As if, in fact, pain is a refusal to return home, to simply surrender to what is.
On a very, just a very practical level, my attention was allowed to rest in awareness. And if it wasn't resting in awareness, everywhere else it would rest in would be some segment of the personality. And so the resting in awareness, once I became familiar with what awareness was, again, like I said, I passed over it, I think, so many times. But it's almost like a reprieve on a very practical level. Awareness can rest in itself, and it doesn't have to always be searching. I'm such a seeker. I'm seeking for, is this it? Is that it? Is that it? Personality seems to be, or the seeker seems to be. And that's what was tiring and painful. But on like on a very practical level, when I became familiar with awareness, literally I can rest in awareness. And that one, on a practical level, that led to me seeing the personality for what it was, or that I should say that I wasn't just the personality. But it was just a reprieve. It was just a resting where I could rest from this belief, this painful personality that is just always bumping into stuff, seeking, wanting, fearful, anxious, angry. And it just was just a rest. I could literally rest there. So I just want to say that I'm not trying to give any lessons or anything, but just if there's people like me, to give them hope, because I never thought I would ever awaken to anything like what I did awaken to. And like I said, I still, in the personality, I'm still the me much of the day, but just when I can be quiet and rest, I know what underlies all this is appearing in that peace. That's all I can just, it's just peace for me.